Why do you do what you do? I know. Next I'll be asking the meaning of life or something. But have you ever stopped to think about why you do whatever it is you're doing? No? My name is Ian Currey and this is Thinking Out Loud. Come on, let me tell you what I think. Motivation, that's what we need. That's what it is, motivation. You know, that thing that makes you get on and do something. The get up and go that starts a project, enters a marathon, or puts one foot in front of the other on the way to work. One of the things I really don't enjoy very much are those overly clever posters that are supposed to make me feel better about whatever it is and do it better. Instead of those clever sayings motivating me, they tend to make me wonder how long someone had to sit in an office designing the thing in the first place and how much it costs, and wouldn't those resources have been better used actually getting on with the job. Motivational posters or sayings are not on the list of things that really do spur people on to complete a task. So what really does motivate? What are the things that make me do what I do? Of course, earning a living so that the bills can be paid is a motivation for most people. But sometimes just doing something well or being the best you can be at something might be a motivation. Perhaps motivation comes from others. You might want to impress someone or be recognized, or perhaps it's to help someone else. Less honorable motivators may be power or fame or perhaps even greed. One of my favorite reasons to do something is purpose. I like to do things that make a difference. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't go to work every day just because it will make a difference. I have bills to pay too. But one thing I didn't find on many people's lists of why they do what they do was because it's the right thing to do. Now, there's a thought, isn't it? I'm quite sure I mostly do things without thinking too much about what motivates me to do them. Mostly, I think I do things because that's what I do. I went to work yesterday, so I'll do it again today. I drank coffee at that time yesterday, and that's what I'll do tomorrow. Habit. Well, that's no reason to do something, is it? Having worked out the why, now it's time to move on to the how we do things. But does it really matter? So long as we get it done, meet our goals, hit the target, show up for work, finish what we've started. Surely the how we get there isn't important at all. Put in other words, the end justifies the means. We got it done. Recently, I've come across a number of situations where something important has been accomplished, sometimes to a great deal of fanfare, but I really didn't like how whatever it was happened. Nastiness, skullduggery, that's a good word, isn't it? Skullduggery, unethical behaviour, and all the rest of it, somehow it gets justified because of the fantastic result at the end of it all. Some of my Jesus following friends even managed to celebrate bad things happening that eventually seemed to cause something good to happen. You know, I'm very uncomfortable with that kind of thinking. How can doing things in a bad way be justified for the greater good? Does God need us misbehaving to accomplish what he wants done? No, I didn't think so. You would think people who like to use the Bible as a basis for living would be less inclined to do things their way, wouldn't you? People are funny. One of the most famous sentences in the Bible is something Paul said. I often hear it quoted back at me when someone is doing something extraordinarily difficult. It says, I've got this. I can do anything because Christ gives me strength. Here's the quote: "For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength." This particular chapter is one I know well, and I've sometimes wondered if Paul intended his words to be used as bravado, an excuse to do things whichever way necessary to get the job done. It really doesn't sound like Paul at all, and since Paul is trying to tell us how to live like Jesus did, that just makes it even harder. Certainly Paul had plenty of difficult things to worry about. He's famous for getting thrown in jail every time he opens his mouth, or doing pretty much anything for that matter. This whole chapter tells us some of the ways Paul has handled difficulty. Instead of Paul whining about his lot in life, especially when times are lean, he says, I have learned how to be content with whatever I have. Far from bragging on how God helps him to succeed at everything, Paul seems to be saying something quite different. It's not so much that he says, I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I've learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little. It's more that he's saying that he's learned to do everything in a way that represents Jesus well. When he's hungry, he's learned to be hungry and not grumble. When Paul says, I can do all things, I wonder if he's really showing us the attitude he had rather than the skills. I know in our daily lives it would be easy enough to do everything we do on our own. After all, most of us have repetitive tasks to do. It's not like it's all new every time we wake up and go to work. We have a job that presumably our boss thinks we can do without needing help all the time. No, I think Paul is far more showing us by his own example that whatever situation he finds himself facing, he can face that with the attitude and servant heart of Jesus. Doing it God's way, if you like. Far from saying, I can do anything I like because Christ is here and he's all powerful, Paul seems to say, you may be struggling or have everything you'll ever need. Either way, I have learned to do everything the way Christ taught us to do things, with meekness and gentleness, looking after people around us. Taking sentences and using them to justify what you want to do your way, in your time and so on, might be exactly the opposite to what Paul was trying to say. The rest of the chapter is well known and well worth a read. The first few sentences set the scene. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honourable, and all sorts of other lovely things. How we do what we do is often more important than what we do, isn't it? Something about the end not justifying the means, perhaps. Until next time, goodbye.